really good. Okay, so welcome back. Thank you for coming. Welcome. It's your first session. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of a recap so that you kind of like get insights from what we got last week, and then we're gonna move towards this week's subject. Before we start, I would like each one of you to share what's the intention today for what we're gonna learn. And if you haven't thought about it, I will give you a minute and just think about like the intention of what you would like to get out of the session. Yeah? Ready? Okay, let's start from here over there.
I just want to keep expanding my idea, especially the idea about God.
Okay.
Because I watched your video and I still have my doubts
Okay.
about God or universe. So yeah, pretty much just trying to expand that idea.
Nice. Perfect.
What she said, like I want to learn more than I already know.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's an energy or something. It just feels I'm curious.
Okay.
So I want to see what you can share with me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm also very open, to expand my knowledge, my horizons. So yeah, that's the intention.
Beautiful. To learn something new, to connect more with the energy. So I'm gonna be sharing the second one because I actually made a video just yesterday purely about praying, and I kind of like brought some facts around like how praying has been present in like many different cultures, and then I am sharing there the framework that I gave it to you. But yesterday in the morning, I was actually remember that I was telling you like once you start working with this energy of like God, if you start asking, you start getting questions. You start getting answers straight away. Now, the answers can be basically through signs, right? Through numbers. I don't know if you have ever experienced like seeing synchronicities with the numbers 222, 111. The numbers, a lot of people think they are just either even numbers or mirror numbers, right? But it's actually any number that resonates with you. So something that we can talk another day, but it can be like 635. And when you go and check the meaning, that number actually holds a code.
It's funny because I used to also think about the mirror numbers, and then I was constantly seeing the 911. So the time 911, I was constantly looking at the clock at that time.
Okay.
And then I googled, I was like, what is the meaning? Because I always thought it was like 1111, 1212, 222,
No.
And then I googled, I was like, is there a meaning behind 911? Like, because and then I don't remember at the time what it was, but then that's when I realized, okay, it's not just the mirror numbers or the secret numbers. There are other numbers that if we keep seeing it, then it has other meaning.
So it's another way of like God communicating through us. Numbers are very connected to angels, and that's why they're called angel numbers. So it is said that angels communicate to us through like different numbers, and then that's why there is the concept of numerology. Another type of sign can be people, like people coming up with messages. You might start getting a repeated message, or you might also start getting, podcasts, books, quotes. So once we start working with God's energy, it's really just to have an open mind. And if the signs are unclear, we just need to keep on asking him, like, show me, like, literally the other day that where we met, and I was telling you this story, I had the feeling of going to this event, and I didn't know why. I wasn't going to come, and then they invited me, and I was like, maybe it's a sign. And then I had like this thing of like, you need to go to the event, and I was like, okay, whatever, let's go. And then I was in the event, and I was until like 6:30 p.m. And I was like, I'm not feeling it, God. Like literally, I was like, I don't know why you brought me here, but I haven't found any reason of why am I supposed to be here. And then I kept on saying, show me the sign, like really show me, because it's confusing. And I was about to leave. And then suddenly things started unfolding. That's where we met. I ended up having like super interesting conversations. Kind of like at the end, everything made sense of why I was meant to be there, right? But to one of the teachers that I have, he said, we do have the right to kind of like erase him until we actually get the answer. Because he's happy when we do this type of things. Same when we find confusion and we don't know if, this energy, is it actually there? Is it not? We can actually go through like, I'm going to talk a little bit about this and then we're going to move into the subject, but it's very related to signs and symbols, right? So I was asking God, I was like, this morning, I woke up feeling like there was a piece missing into my praying. Like there was a piece that it was missing into my praying, right? As soon as my meditation finished, because in Spotify, sometimes it sends you random podcast or whatever. As soon as the meditation finished, I got a podcast about praying. And it's someone that he has been working with everything that I am teaching for like many, many years. And I was like, okay, this is legit. I'm going to listen to it. And I literally, before I did my prayer, I started listening to the podcast. And it mentioned something that I didn't have before, like an information that it was missing. And I was like, that makes sense. Because remember when I was telling you, like all these tools are kind of like, it is a technology. So regardless of whether if we believe in God or not, if we want to give it that meaning of like God, or we just talk like the universe, right? As many of us probably here do. If you do it, right, like if we get a formula and if you apply that formula, you will be able to see the changes. Now, how many of you did the task that I sent last week?
I tried.
How did it?
I tried.
How did it go?
It wasn't that type of task. It wasn't.
No, because it was just, it was literally like the task was praying,
Exactly.
right? So did you notice any changes?
Not yet. I'm still waiting for.
Okay, yeah. And
I was already doing it, so the only thing that I introduced was the vessel thing.
Yeah.
So I found it interesting. Asking for others, that was also something that I was not doing it. So
Yeah.
I'm now asking, and I'm using it as an example to show that he exists.
okay,
So if what I'm asking for others happens, it's a proof for me and for others that
that it
he
exists.
And then the other ones I was already doing it.
Okay.
Meditation. Oh, I know. I did the soul thing. So it was interesting. The other day I was asking because you had like ask your soul what they need, and my soul was asking to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So I did go. I went to the beach.
Nice. Yeah, sometimes it can be like, for example, yesterday, this is a little bit intimate, but I feel like I can share with you. But yesterday I was literally asking like, what does my soul want? And in the waiting, because I was laying down, for like a few minutes, I went to sleep again. And then I had this weird dream. And in this dream, I was about to have sex and I didn't want it. Like I literally felt this icky energy of like, why am I doing this? And I was like, I really don't want it. And my body was like completely blocked, and in the dream was weird. And I was like, it actually makes sense because I have been working with learning how to understand my sexual energy. And I was like, this is it. My soul is telling me, don't go and do something silly because that you don't want it, right? So symbols, signs. If it's too difficult to understand, we simply ask. The more you ask, the more, think about like the channel, right? Like I was telling you, like there is this channel, but what happens most of the time, it's because it has, the best example that I found the other day is, imagine there is a pipe. That pipe is full of mud. That is our channel. So it's full of mud. It's actually really dirty. Now, for us to be able to clear the channel and to expand the capacity of the vessel that we talked the other day, you need to ask to be cleared. And this morning in the technique that I actually learned, and I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. He was talking about how, like, what is the steps that helps to remove to remove the mud of the pipe so that you can be the channel and it can be very clear, the messages, right? Because like at the very beginning when I was doing it was very confusing. I was like, I don't understand, like, what is this type of message? But one day, literally, one day I was coming down these stairs and I said, I'm actually a little bit mad with you, God, because you haven't been talking to me. As soon as I said that, it was for the first time that I literally raised my head and I was like, holy shit, there's actually a Christ. And then I was, again, about to listen a podcast, and then this podcast came out of nowhere because I didn't pick it, and it was talking about God. And I was like, okay, that's very, very clear that something is happening. Now, kind of like this is like a little bit of a refined formula of what we learned last week. But you can take a picture later. I'm going to be sending the video as well so that you can have it. But basically, what I learned in this formula, and also like through the research that I was doing about like praying, because I wanted to understand deeper, like what was the, like, have you heard about Sufism? Yeah, so Sufism, they meditate and then they go into this trance state like by just turning in circles, right? So that's their praying for them. In India, you have the mantras, which you chant mantras, that is praying, right? So there is many different religions, many different traditions where they have kind of like understood that there is breathing involved, there is your mind involved, and then there is the process of what you do to get the results that you want. Now, we all have this part in the body which is called the dantian. I don't know if you have heard before about it. Okay, so this comes from like the Chinese medicine, Chinese perspective. So they said that two fingers below the belly button, we have this point where the energy is born. So kind of like where your yin and yang is connected, that's the dantian. So all the source of energy is located literally in this part of the body. Now, what we need to add into our process of praying, right? And when I did it this morning, the feeling was different, because how do you know that your praying has been kind of like answered or it got actually into like God? It's because straight after that, you're going to feel peace. You're not going to have the need of, if I am asking for this, right? Like if I am asking for clients, for example, for success in my business, when the prayer is not answered, you kind of like are still left with these traces of like, but what is going to happen? Am I going to get it? Is it going to come? Is the money going to come? Like, like you still have uncertainties. Once the prayer is answered, the feeling that you have is. You're at ease, you have peace, you are present. There is nothing left of what do I need to think, what do I need to plan, because this formula gives you access to kind of like that's the result of, right? Now, remember last week that I made the example of this is you, like the glass, there is a lot of holes, you're asking God or the universe for more things. Every single time that you get it, it vanishes. So you might get relationships that they seem that they are good and then they vanish. You might get money and then eventually it might vanish. It's because we haven't fixed the vessel, right? So through applying this, we are not only fixing the holes, but we are also expanding the vessel. Now this technique, what it was saying was, we need to go into breathing for 2 to 3 minutes, right? And when you are breathing, have you realized that most of the time we actually breathe from our chest, right? And that's why people get anxiety, because they have shallow breath and they do it from the chest. And that's exactly why you're feeling like anxious, right? But what happens, regular breathing is actually meant to be done with the belly, right? So, Giovanna, yeah.
I learned about it.
Right? So what happens when we start doing this type of breathing, right, is you're literally inhaling and going into the belly, and all that you need to do is you need to picture your dantian. So you picture this energetic point. And you focus on the breathing. what it's doing is basically quieting the mind. And by allowing your mind to get quiet, and today I'm going to be showing you a technique of how do we quiet the mind, because it's part of the alchemical process. But by quieting the mind, then you allow the ideas, you allow all the rest of the process to be done with ease and to not be overthinking. Because how many of you wake up in the morning and you start thinking on your to-do list? Oh, what are the things that I need to do today? And I have to send this email and I have to check my notifications. And as soon as you check the notifications, boom, all the peace is gone, right? It's like that. We do it, right? So by allowing yourself to do the first part, you come back into like kind of like emptying the mind. Then the second part is we pray to our Father. And this is key. I was actually this morning, I was like, why our Father? And he said, when we talk to God, when we say Father or the Father, we're kind of like being selfish, because we need to be involving everybody around us to basically get them to get the blessings, as we talked last week, get them to be involved. Even though we might not like some people, we need to ask for them, right? So when we use the term our Father, we are saying it is for all of us. So to our Father we pray, and then you start. First, overflow of blessings, but not to you, to them. Wait, before that. Number 3, ask for forgiveness. So that's what we're gonna do. You ask for forgiveness because there might be people that you feel like you might not be feeling at peace with. There are some people that they piss us off, and we just need to be honest, right? I have a list of people that they piss me off. So this morning I did ask for forgiveness. Then we move into blessings and gratitude. The blessings is for them. So we just simply ask, God bless them. Just bring as much blessings as you can to them. And then we move into gratitude. Thank you for what we have, right? Then the last step is ask for the vessel to be expanded. So there is a few elements that are new in what I showed you last week. If you do the exercise.
I tried a few times.
Yeah.
I just did it in a different order. It didn't happen as soon as I woke up. That's what I wanted to experiment with. As soon as I wake up, I want to do it in that frequency. But one of the times I got woken up, the other time my phone went off, and I was like, no, this is not how I wake up. So the frequency of like how I did it didn't go the way you were suggesting. That was my thing. I was like, I did it. I did the gratitude. I did the process. I just didn't do it as soon as I woke up.
Okay. Now it doesn't matter if so the practice doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. Let's forget about perfection, as long as you get into the habit of.
So I do what you do, but when you say to do it as soon as you wake up, like the energy that we're in, as soon as we wake up in that moment, that's what I wanted to experiment with.
Okay.
Was that energy? So it's not the perfection of the routine. It was just in that state.
In that state.
Up, no phone, and go straight to it, and I couldn't.
That's okay. And just keep on asking to be removed whatever needs to be removed. So that's one part of, yeah. You can take a picture if you want it before I have a picture, I will send it over anyway. But part of what we talked last week. Okay, so today, so remember last week we talked about alchemy, Hermetism, and the Kabbalah. Now, to make things easier and so that we can understand how these systems work, I'm going to be taking you on a journey where each week I'm going to be introducing, this week we start with alchemy, and then the following weeks I'm going to start bringing the new tools, yeah, to make it less overwhelming. Because once we go into Kabbalah, it's actually quite deep. I'm going through that process and it's intense. But today, basically, it's all about alchemy. Now, There is many different meanings of alchemy, and I can give you 100,000 meanings, but the simple one, it's simply the art of transformation. Yeah. Alchemy exists since, like, they have discovered that even in Egypt, they used alchemy, right? But before we had science, before we have chemistry, before we had, like, I don't know if you have heard the theory that everything got split. So religion was split into one category, chemistry was split into another one, and then science into another one. Before that, alchemy was saying that everything is together. And remember last week that I spoke about the concept of mind, body, and soul, the Holy Trinity, right? So here we have the mind, the body, and the soul. So alchemy basically says how we can create the balance within each one of these elements so that we can transform anything that we want in our life. Alchemists in the past, they used to do, the goal for them was to transform metals into gold. And that's where the concept of the philosopher's stone is born, which basically says that achieving the philosopher's stone was the biggest thing that an alchemist can do. And probably we have heard from the philosopher's stone from Harry Potter, right? But basically, what we do with alchemy is we take something into a process, and by taking it into that process, we can transform it. Now, over the next 7 weeks, I'm gonna be taking you into like 7 different steps. You're gonna be picking something that you want to be working with, and we're gonna alchemize it, just for you to have the experience of like, this actually means alchemizing, right? Now, as any science, you need a laboratory, right? Now, in alchemy, we call the body the inner laboratory. Every alchemist in the past had the capacity, for them to be able to transform any mineral into gold, they had to go through the process themselves. Because what happens? Whatever you're experiencing inwards is reflected outwards, which is similar to the law that we spoke last week. Remember when I explained about the mirrors and reality? Now, basically, let's take this. Now, this is each one of us, and this is consciousness, right? Now, what does it actually mean is all the time, 24/7, we have access to the vast consciousness of the universe, and that's how it is connected with God. But what happens with what we are thinking is that every single thing that goes through our mind is then created and projected into reality. So remember last week that I gave you the example of like when I saw someone having a crash, and then I said, in which part of my consciousness I actually created that so that I can perceive that in my life. Now, this consciousness, right, whatever we think becomes a container, right? Now, how many of you have actually heard about the term hermetically sealed? Never? That's very common in South America. But hermetically sealed means to seal something so perfectly, right, that no air is coming in. Let's say you're gonna hermetically seal and store an apple. Now the goal of sealing the apple, right? Like let's say this is where we're gonna put the apple, and we are going to seal it. The process is that the apple doesn't get rotten, right? Very simple. Now, when we are talking about like the process of like how do we seal our vessel, right? How do we go through a process in which we seal our consciousness we become aware of the type of thoughts that we have, right? Which most of the time are bullshit thoughts. The types of feelings that we have, which most of the time is also like fear, shame, worry, right? Now, what we do in alchemy, remember that I said that I mentioned about like the inner laboratory. Now, every one of us has this laboratory activated within us. And what the laboratory says, it says that there is the energy of the sun and the moon. Now, what do you think the sun represents? Masculine. Yeah, the masculine. And what does the masculine represent? Huh? What does the masculine represent?
The physical body.
What
The
else?
action.
Yeah, actions. So the masculine is very oriented into actions. And then we have the feminine. And the feminine means
Intuition.
yeah. Now, when we are doing alchemy, especially because we're going to start working with our container, we're going to be awakening the inner laboratory today so that you can understand what does it mean. Basically what it says that these two energies, they need to be merged into one. Because someone that understands this process deeply creates what it's called the intelligence of the heart. Have we heard about like heart coherence? Right? Yeah, so like Joe Dispenza talks a lot about like mind and heart, right? So they say that we have actually the capacity, they have found that we have neurons in the heart. We have neurons in the stomach, right? When we create heart and brain coherence, right? Think about like brain is your sun, your masculine. Your heart then becomes the feminine. So once we create this coherence, which in alchemy it's called the intelligence of the heart, then we become more coherent in life. Because what happens, right? Like if we want to use, think just about this concept. Who here is an entrepreneur? I think everyone. Soon. You? Are you working for entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we as entrepreneurs, right? Like we are basically the ones running everything behind the business unless you have a team. But what happens most of the time is you get an idea or a download, you want to action it, and then there's two types. There is either the people that they constantly keep on creating something new. You have a new idea and then you want to action it, and then as soon as this is starting to work or it doesn't work, then you move into the next one and then you just keep going in an infinite loop. Or there is people that they get ideas and the rational mind says like, maybe that's not a good idea, and they block it, right? So that means that they haven't actually mastered what it's called the intelligence of the heart, right? Now that is one part of alchemy. Think about like the moment that you want to start working with this part, it is really about making sure that your body becomes the vessel that has the capacity of going through these different processes. Now, with alchemy, any questions so far? We're gonna go deep into theory and then it's gonna make sense once you do the practical part.
No, but you're great, honestly. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the next one, right? There is 7 steps in alchemy. Remember, like last week, we talked about like 3 different stages. So, alchemy has Nigredo. Okay. So in alchemy, we have this process. Think about like the general process of what alchemy does. It basically brings, let's say we were all alchemists and we have our laboratory, and then we have given the project, each one of us, to pick any metal, and the goal is to transform it into gold, right? Now, the theory part is going to tell us that in order to get that metal from this state into gold, right, we need to go through all these different phases so that we can achieve this, right? Now, what happens when we do alchemy with our minds? It means that whatever we are trying to create or manifest can also be done through taking this process. Because let's say you want to manifest, tell me one thing that you would like to manifest. $1 million. $1 million. Okay, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
I would go for 100K, so like 100 would be good for me.
Okay.
Can we do it all together for us to create this moment?
Yeah, 2 million.
Okay, we go with 1 million, yeah? Now, what happens? The goal is 1 million, right? But if we can literally just make this and make it happen, it will be amazing, but it doesn't happen in that way, right? Then we need to think about like, I am here, this is me. How do I actually get from here and carrying this fear, this shame, this guilt, all my negative thoughts, all the lower frequency, how do I actually move from this reality into the reality of the person that has literally, become the king or the queen and manifested that $1 million? Now,
I need to feel it before I get it. You need to
yeah,
create this feeling of abundance
before you get it. But what happens most of the time? What happens behind, right? Because nobody talks. Everyone says like, oh yeah, you can manifest shit. No, you can't, because nobody knows about like the... So I gave you one of the parts, one of the keys, right? Praying. Praying is one of the first steps that allows you to manifest. Because for you to be able to move from this scarcity mindset into a wholeness mindset, you need to have, here we have fear, here we have faith, here we have shame, here we have pride, here we have worry, here we trust. So see how it's kind of like the opposite stage? But what happens with most of the people, right, is that we are unaware how our feelings, our emotions, and our thoughts are literally blocking us to get into this reality. Because you can try to manifest, right? But if deep down I have a really bad relationship with money, is it going to happen? No. You can try to manifest, but, all the time you're worrying. How many people do I need to sell so that I can get into $1 million? I don't know if you have ever done the math of if you have a product or service, how many sales will you need to be able to get here, right? That's okay. Take a sit. No, you can just take a sit. Yeah. So, we were just explaining. We're going to start today with alchemy. A little bit of a recap. So what I'm explaining now, it's like in alchemy, we need to discover our inner laboratory, right? So for us to be able to do alchemy, we need to understand how that lab is formed within us. And inside of each one of us, there is masculine and feminine energy. What alchemy says is that once we create the inner laboratory, we need to create what it's called heart coherence. And this has been, Joe Dispenza, there is a lot of people that they talk about heart coherence. Now, alchemy also says that we have the capacity, but in alchemy, it's called intelligence of the heart. Yeah? Now, last week I explained about Nigredo, Rubedo, and Whiteface a little bit. Today we're going to go deeper into this. But what I am explaining now, it's like, this is most of us, and we want to manifest $1 million, right? Now, how do we get from here to here? A lot of people are going to say, well, you just need to work harder.
You have to become the person who can attract $1 million.
Yeah. Now, behind becoming the person who can attract that, there is so many thoughts, so many doubts, so many fears. Like your subconscious mind is literally, just think about it, right? Like if everything that you're experiencing right now in life is based on whatever you experienced in the past, and your subconscious, what it did, it said basically, you know what? I'm going to store absolutely everything. So it literally created a database, right? Like think about like, what will it feel like? How many of you here used ChatGPT or Cloud? Yeah. Now, have you seen like have you used projects? Right. Now, imagine what will happen if we decided to create a project, right? And we call it life. Yeah. And then we stick all the traumas, all the limiting beliefs. You're gonna literally put every single bad memory that you have in this project. Now, how do you think it's going to react when you say, we want to manifest $1 million? Right? That's us. That's each one of us. How these tools actually work is basically we get to declutter the space so that you can feel the feelings and so that you can actually do the quantum leap, the quantum jump, right? Now, let's move into there is so much information that I can give it to you. But we're gonna move into what it's needed today. Okay. So, just to give you some context of the 7 steps. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, in alchemy, there is these 7 different steps, right? Now, these 7 different steps, remember, I don't remember last week I mentioned about the number 7. Did I? So it's ever present. Number 7 is present in absolutely everything. 7 chakras, 7 planets, 7 glands within our body, 7 days of the week, 7 steps of alchemy, right? So now, all this, if you actually watch, I don't know if you have seen the training yet, but if you watch the training, I go a little deep on how everything is interconnected. However, what these processes are telling us quickly, because today we're gonna get only into one. Calcination, right? Calcination means burning that shit out, basically, right? So when we go through a process of calcination, have you ever had that feeling that you're so done with something that you literally just want to go and burn it, right? Because what does fire does? Fire doesn't think, just imagine, right? Imagine if I light up this table. And then fire is like, no, I like candy, so I'm not going to burn it. No, it doesn't happen, right? It burns everything, right? So when we go through a process of calcination with alchemy, what it's telling us basically is the destruction of ego. Yeah? So the first process that we need to go through so that we can go from like this, the broken me that hasn't been able to manifest the $1 million, the first step that we all should go through so that our consciousness evolves, so that we have access to be the channel with God, is literally destroying our ego. And that can be one of the most painful processes for people that they have a lot of attachment issues, right? Because the more attached you are to a certain reality, the more painful it's going to be for you to be able to dissolve your ego. Because what does the ego says, right? Let's say just praying. You did the praying 7 days, nothing happened. So then your ego says, then why are we doing this if this is not working? Let's just go back. Let's just go back to sleep. Or it's going to say, take your phone. Watch the notifications. You know, like, let's make a list of what are the to-do things that we need to do today. That's literally your freaking ego. Now, in alchemy, once we go through the process of calcination, which is literally burning, right? The process of calcination says we take one element and we burn it. Now, the ashes in alchemy, it doesn't mean that things is destroyed. It simply means that that same body was turned into something else. And the ashes in alchemy, we don't throw it away. But that is the first resource. Once you have burned your ego, right? Then we take those ashes, and then those ashes we say, okay, how do we actually convert this into something that is valuable to me? Because how many here have heard about like the more you evolve, the more your ego evolves?
The more you what?
The more you evolve, the more your ego also evolves. Because it's very sneaky, the motherfucker. Like for real. The more you, like the more intelligent you become, not intelligent, but like the more awareness you have, the more your ego will have awareness. And it's gonna be super sneaky. Like for example, me doing all these processes of like changing, rewiring, reframing my mind, I realized that the moments that my ego keeps on coming and it's just like fucking annoying, it's every single time that I am driving in a bike and I have an imaginary thought of like me crashing it. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, leave me alone. Now, something that I also do is sometimes I buy protein and I put it inside the seat. Now, my ego likes to think that one day I will arrive home and then it will be a fucking mess because it will explode, right? And I was like, isn't that interesting? Like, because I haven't given it, I have mastered now so far to not let him take over, to give me fear, to make me daft. But now, the sneaky motherfucker is showing up in these things, right? But it's not just simply the thought. Because if I become unaware of it, eventually I will feel. Eventually it will create certain emotion. And guess what will happen? I will either end up having the accident or I will end up having my seat full of protein because it's going to explode, right? Like that's how crazy our mind is. It literally creates. Now, in the process, because we're talking about the mind, yeah? Everything that I'm going to be teaching from now onwards, I can talk about metals, but we're not here to transform metals because otherwise imagine that could be so amazing to get gold and become rich. But we're...
The process to arrive at
Yeah. But we're going to be working and doing the mind thing so that we can get into here. Yeah?
Can I ask a question to what you just said, just to understand? So you said that like once you start thinking or believing it, like you attract it, but it shows up in different forms. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying? So, for example, because I just have that right now in my thought, like related to the situation I was in last week. I texted you right when I arrived home that like when we passed, a guy died. Like he had a scooter accident and he was lying there. And then you commented in, oh, there was something in the field. And I was like,
Yeah.
what does he mean? Is that related
Yeah.
to that?
It's basically what we do is once we understand that we are consciousness, right? Like if we are awareness, because awareness is not something that you can touch or that you can go and buy. Imagine how cool will it be if I go to the store and it's like, give me $100 of awareness, please. I don't need to do the inner work, right? But it doesn't happen. So what happens with awareness is like this entire thing, each one of us created so that we can be here. You created it, I created it, each one of you literally did something in the consciousness to be able to be here and now. Now, you will understand more. Like I will send you there is no video from last week, but there is one rule in Hermetism that says the all is mind. Basically, everything that we think is projected into the outside world. And if we go deeper into this rule, it means that whatever we see around it, somewhere deep down in your brain, there was something that triggered so that you can perceive that reality. Because what can also happen is like there might have happened an accident, but your consciousness and your awareness was in a completely different state that you didn't even see it. That has also happened, right? It's like the more I don't know if you have experienced, but sometimes the more you think about something, the more it starts showing up. Right? Like that's what they say. Like, for example, if you want to manifest a car, you need to visualize it, you need to imagine yourself, you need to even go to the store and actually ask for like a practice run, and you will get it. Because then you will be attracting it into your field. So we do have the capacity to attract absolutely everything, but what happens most of the time is we are letting the ego take over our reality. And that's why you end up creating very shitty situations. That's why you end up experiencing things that perhaps they are not the best things that we want to be experiencing in life. Because what happens with the ego, right? Like, think about the ego. Let's say this is the ego. I'm going to make it like a ghost. So this is your ego, right? Now your ego is talking directly, every single time, it talks directly into your field. So your ego is constantly feeding you of fear, of shame, of guilt, all the negative emotions, it's feeding you. Because what happens? The moment that you say, I will actually take a different direction in my life because I'm fucking done with playing small. But the ego thrives to be living in a box. It loves it. All your life, you basically, another way of seeing this the ego that is very easy and that I use it with my clients is, think about your ego is like a dragon, right? Now this dragon goes and destroys whenever it wants, however he wants it. He literally flies and destroys one town, destroys the other one, But now the dragon never had awareness that it had a chain. Right? Now it's up to you to pull the chain. Because you are the one that is in control. So instead of letting the dragon simply go and destroy things, which how does it destroy it? It fits into your mind the negativity. Oh, it's not going to work. Don't even bother. You know, you look at yourself in the mirror and then it starts talking bullshit. Oh, you're fat. Oh, look at the pimple. Right? Like that's your ego. But what happens the moment that we become aware, the moment that we take it through this process of calcination, what we say is like, bitch, now I am in control. And if you were used to going into destroying things, I can always pull the trigger back and I am in fucking charge. But you need to have awareness. Because if you don't have awareness of your negative thoughts, guess what will happen? You will never change. And that's why there is, you know, one of the big things that my mentors used to say, he said like, stupid people, it doesn't exist. They literally don't have the awareness. If we see it from like a biochemical way, right? The neurons, there is no neuroplasticity. So there is a lot of people right now that they don't have the neuroplasticity. And even if you try to explain something to them, it's not gonna land. They don't have awareness. There is no neural connection. With alchemy, what we can do is we can take ourselves through a process where we literally create new neural connections and your awareness starts changing. But you need to be willing to do it. How many here have done any sort of healing? Okay, which type of healing?
Workouts,
Mm-hmm.
past life regressions.
Okay.
Like a lot of things.
A lot, right? Like, because we usually get into this field of like, there is always something to heal, right? Now, what happens with the healing is you are creating awareness. But remember that I was telling you that it's a sneaky motherfucker. Yeah. Now you get into healing, so then the ego says, oh, then we're gonna be constantly healing. Just get another session. Let's go for another Reiki. Let's go and discover what else is new. And what did you end up doing, right, with this one? He ended up then bringing it into an infinite loop of like, I just need one more healing session, right? So this is the healing session. This is you. So it's, I only need one more healing session so that then I can get into my next level. And here is the next level. So you say, let's just get one more healing session so that then I can get into the next level. So that then I can get one more healing session so that then I can get into the next level. And then this motherfucker ended up creating a healing personality. Because that is how deep this is. It's literally crazy. The moment that I realized and I was like, holy shit, I have invested so much money in fucking healing. And there was always the voice telling me, the next time it's gonna be it. But what happens is if you remove this completely, there is no more need of healing. You know the people that they have become very successful, that they have, I don't know how many here follow quantum jumping or manifestation. Now there is people that they have actually done it, right? What happened with them is they literally went through a process where they eliminated the identity, the old identity. They literally removed everything, right? When I was talking with God and God said, Aeon, are you willing to burn even you, are you willing to let even your bones be burnt? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's a little bit darker, right? But what it meant was if I was willing to let go of absolutely everything that I have told myself so that I can be that version. And that process done consciously it is still painful. Because once you understand that, I want to move from here into my $1 million. And then it means that I need to let, this bitch out of the game, but I also need to let everything else in my life fade away. Which means relationships, friendships, even family sometimes. Because even though they love you, every single time that you go like, oh, I just have a new idea, what happens most of the time? They feed you with doubts. No, don't do it. It's too risky. The amount of times when I was moving from career to career that they told me like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. So many years working so hard and now you're gonna move into what? Right? So the moment that you step into this identity, it's literally someone completely different as the one that you're currently experiencing.
Yeah, this is something came like, for example, when you want to have a new identity, so you want to do things as a new identity, you feel like so many fears that come as you want to do those actions.
Yep.
And that happens to me all the time. Like all these doubts, all these fears, like they just come, like bubbling up,
And they say like right now, for example, because of our conversation, I went back to transurfing to dig deeper. And he explains there that it is actually a normal process that once you start doing something different, then all these fears and all these doubts happen. Now, remember what I mentioned about this motherfucker. He is the one placing all the fears and all the doubts and telling you like, no, it's not gonna be possible. Why? Because he thrives in your comfort zone. He thrives being in the box. And the moment that you said, I'm gonna take this out, it starts freaking out. Now, to make this, because how much time? Do you have the time?
Yes.
Please. 5:30, okay, we have 1 hour. But to make it faster, right? The next step, right, is dissolution. Now, dissolution means we take the ashes, and now those ashes we're gonna bring into this liquid, and then it's gonna be transmuted into something else, right? Now, what does it mean mentally? It means once we move into the process of dissolution, that's when we're gonna start releasing repressed emotions, unconscious thoughts. And this is exactly what you talked about. Because what happens in this process, in the dissolution, everything that we see externally from us starts becoming a mirror. But most of the people, they don't understand this concept of the mirrors, which means if you get triggered of something that I did, it's not me, it's you. Right? So in this process, once we say, fuck the ego, we're gonna start changing, we're gonna start moving into someone new. Then comes the second one that says like, there is a rule. So now you have to face all your shit. So here, people tends to, there is only two ways. I either take it and I take ownership and I am like, yeah, it's not about others, it's actually about me. Where in this, like if you ask yourself, like the next time that you have a trigger, simply ask yourself, how is this about me? And I guarantee you that you're gonna have the memory of the moment that you did the exact same thing because you have it within. There is a huge information as well about mirrors, but that's the basic one, right? Because the other mirrors that there also exist in reality, it means if I see some brilliance in someone, it's because you also have it. Now, if we are smart and we learn how to use this law, this part especially, we simply take ownership of everything that we have been going through. Because then it comes separation. What happens, have you seen that you make a coffee, like the Balinese coffee, right? that usually at the end you find all the coffee bits, right? Like it's very dense. It separates. It literally splits, right? Now, when we move into separation with alchemy, it says basically, here we start, it's like we start overcoming, right? Like if I see my mirrors, if I understand that everything is just a reflection of who I am, and I take ownership of that, then you get into the awareness of like, but is this something that I want to be carrying on? Because many people out there, they still believe, oh, you know, it was passed through generation through generation, so it's something that I must have it too. No, you don't. Joe Dispenza says that. How many illnesses? You know, in my family there is a really, really bad, like from my dad's side, all the brothers and sisters, they got an illness with their brain. Different types of illnesses, but every single one of them, they went through something with their brain. Now, if I didn't know about this, probably I'm gonna be thinking, fuck, I'm next. Because it's genes, right? Now here, once you understand that you can separate yourself, you can actually pick and you can be like, no, that doesn't belong to me. Even though there is a lineage of things in my generation, I don't want to be the one carrying this. So here we learn to separate ourselves. And what it says is basically, here all the aspects of oneself appear. But then you get to pick what is essential and what is non-essential. Because all that it does, this alchemical process, right, is bringing awareness. Now think about like, you know those video games, especially the adventure video games, that you don't know what is the next chapter, right? It's like you know that you need to achieve something and you are here and you need to get there, but you don't know what is that next chapter. With alchemy, we get to do that, but we become aware of the game. You get to realize that I actually have a say. If I am just a character in this movie that we have all created, then I can get to be the hero. But you need to understand the rules of the game. Does it make sense? Because what I am explaining is very deep.
So separation is basically choosing your own destiny?
Yeah, that's when you start saying like, you know, there is all the dense parts of you, they're gonna start going into the bottom so that the new you can start coming up, right? That's what I was giving you the example of the coffee. The coffee grounds stay in the bottom, whereas the lighter ones, like the liquid, starts floating up. If you leave it for long enough, you will probably be able to see that eventually it starts getting clear on top, right? So we can do the same.
One interesting thing here is that, like, I've been playing around with the idea that our soul came here to experience something or have a trajectory, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I just been thinking a lot about that because I don't know, like I was okay, so I don't have any free will. Like I just like came here and I have to just experience this and die at a certain point of some kind of weird disease that my soul kind of thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I read Transurfing and it says that's just one timeline. You know, you can actually change it. You have the will to separate from that if you want.
I'm being eaten alive, like I can't. So.
Yes, you can do it.
So yeah, that was interesting. I mean, it kind of.
Because think about it like, instead of like thinking,
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Is that your platform?
No, here there is a lot of mosquitoes.
I know, but this was last week. I got eaten alive. So
Oh.
no, sorry.
Okay, so we are so far in separation. Now conjunction, remember that I told you that in the inner laboratory, you're gonna be basically marrying your masculine and feminine. Now, once we achieve conjunction, it allows you to basically discern what are my feminine aspects and what are my masculine aspects. Now, coming back to the entrepreneurial journey, once you understand your feminine and your masculine aspects, then it's very easy to get the download and to action it so that that idea materializes in reality. And one of the most crazy things that is happening nowadays is that we have AI. And believe me or not, AI has accelerated the process of manifestation. Because isn't it crazy that you get an idea, right? Random idea. And you can go to GPT and say, how do I make this happen? And it builds a plan for you. Right? Now, here in conjunction, once we get into this process, it's basically, I have my masculine and I have my feminine. How do I navigate towards in my life? How can I use these both energies so that they support my process every single day? It's like, when do I use the masculine? When do I use the feminine? So I get to use my feminine when I am creating content, because it's the creative aspect. It's like, where can I be like, more intuitive, more creative? Then the masculine aspect of it is, okay, I have done a bunch of videos. Now I need to sit and edit. And if I have a healed masculine, it's gonna make me think, instead of like, now we have to do all this work. If I have a healed masculine, is how do I optimize this process? Do you see how am I tapping now in different energies across the day? Right? Let's say you want to go to the gym and you want to be consistent. What do you think it happens if you start tapping only in your feminine and you let your intuition decide if you should go to the gym or not? Right? Or the feelings. What am I feeling today? Right? It's not going to happen. So here in conjunction is understanding that we have these elements. And then it's like, cool, how do I marry them? How do I bring them both into coherence? So that my heart,
I was doing something weird in this house.
so that my heart and my mind are synced, right? In conjunction, I want you to think about like all this process, how he's been transformed slowly. In conjunction, if I start thinking about the $1 million, I'm gonna start noticing that there is actually a way for me of doing it. But I need to be in coherence. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Now fermentation, right? Fermentation says, now things start getting a little bit heated, right? The liquid has been standing there, and I want you to just picture this, like imagine, right? Like when you, I don't know if you have accidentally left. Once it happened to me that I accidentally left, I was in a road trip and I did one day this water with oranges. Right, like that day I had oranges and I didn't want the orange juice, and I decided just to make a water blended with orange. So I took the oranges and I put in the water, and I forgot about it. Right, like months have passed, literally months. 6 months later, I discovered the bottle, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? It took it into a process. What happens when you mix sugar and water and you leave it long enough? That's why we get wine. It goes through a process of fermentation. We have the capacity of going through that process. So when we start going in through fermentation with alchemy, it basically starts becoming the birth of a new consciousness. What I did with that bottle I was like, maybe I can do something fun, because I come from like a background with mixology and science and alchemy, right? So I was like, I'm gonna add yeast and I'm gonna add sugar, and 6 months later, I was having champagne made of oranges. Now see how that water with oranges was turned into something completely different to what it was. We can do that in this process. Here is like I am getting hints of that new identity. And here is exactly where it happens that you're not the old. I am definitely not the old, but I am not the new. And you get into what is called the liminal stage, which is fucking annoying. Because it's like, when is it gonna finish? Right? Like I have, in the past I used to be okay with the liminal stage. It's like, okay, I know that I'm going through changes and eventually it's gonna happen. It's another trap. Remember that I was telling you that this one gets smarter on the way. So in the birth of a new consciousness, you're kind of like, it's like, this is the old me, this is the new me. But you're like in that dance. And one day you're feeling amazing, and then the next day you're feeling like shit. And you feel like the old self is coming back. But because now you are aware of your old self, what happens with most of the people is that now your ego uses that to harm you. Because the ego starts like, you did it again. I knew it. I knew that you were going to do it. I knew that you were going to fall for it. And then he takes the control again. Right? Like that's why when we do all this process consciously, it is as if your reality starts kind of like, like same as the Matrix. I gave you the example last week. Your reality will start feeling like that. When my business dissolved, I knew that I was in calcination. I was like, this is fucking calcination. It's hurting my ego. It's hurting me. I feel really bad and negative about what's going on. But then I said, how can I move from here into here? Most of the people out there, they don't have the capacity, so they get stuck in situations. You have a breakup, for example. That is calcination. Give me examples of another things that can be represented by calcination.
Job, like identity and survival.
Yeah, calcination. Which one of you?
Animal dies, for example, is that also because of the grief?
Grief, yeah, calcination.
Move to Bali.
Calcination. Because it opens a new identity, right? The moment that you leave the comfort zone, you go into calcination. Because basically you're moving from the familiar to the unknown. But if we don't recognize that it is just one part, right? This one takes over and it makes a whole fucking drama about it. And then you might end up doubting, did I take the right decision? The amount of times that I was doubting if I was supposed to be in Bali because I was listening to this one. But I was unaware of what was happening. Now the next one, it says, think about what will happen if they actually did wine, but they didn't remove all the, how do you call it? Must. Right? It will be awful to actually drink it. Think about like having a glass of wine and then you suddenly have something in your mouth and it's chunky and weird. Not so nice, no? So what we do is we take it into the next process of distillation. So once we do that, it basically says it redefines, it refines and purifies the new self. So once we move into distillation, right, it's like I am not here and I am not here, but I have decided that, fuck it, I'm going to be my new self. Then that new self needs to start adapting to the new environment. Think about the first week that you go to the gym, or the first week that you try a new sport. It's uncomfortable. It's not like, I am enjoying. The first week that you go to the gym is like, what the fuck am I doing? Everything hurts.
Why am I here?
Yeah. But eventually you start getting actually into the rhythm, and it's like, actually it makes sense. And you start feeling better. So that's distillation. The renewal starts happening. It's like, okay, I know that here the liminal is finished. There is no more liminal space because it's a space for the new. How do I make sure that my vessel expands and gives me the capacity of holding that reality in my life? And then the last one is coagulation, which is the highest state, which means the unification of body and spirit. Now that sounds very deep, but the unification of body and spirit can be simply translated into, have you seen the amount of people nowadays that they're actually questioning their purpose? And they're asking themselves, like, why am I here? Why did I came to this earth? So once that unification happens, you get super clear of what's my direction. Like crystal clear. I've never felt so clear in my life as I am right now, thanks to this process. Because it literally becomes your North Star. So now, having this, right? If we bring it into the process of manifestation, then here it says, if you have mastered coagulation, right, it is just a matter of time until that reality is simply reflected. Because what happens, right? Whatever you perceive right now is your past. The present actually doesn't exist. If you have created this reality based on the thoughts that you have had, what you're experiencing right now is the thoughts and beliefs and feelings and emotions that you had 6 months ago, that you had a year ago. So what you see right now is not real. And what happens most of the time when we're trying to manifest and create this reality is like, I am feeling amazing, but my bank account is still empty.
I feel that.
And you go back, because that's the trick. For so many years, I was listening to Joe Dispenza, and Joe Dispenza used to piss me off. Because he was like, you just need to feel the feelings. And I was like, what the fuck with feeling the feelings? I don't understand how to feel the feelings. How do I feel the feelings if my reality, it's still the same fucking reality? But quantum jumping, right? Which means this is you. And then there is infinite timelines. Right? Right now you might be in this one. And this one represents this. But we want to move here. This one is represented by this one. There are two completely different ones. Like literally, two completely different ones. The $1 million is there. It doesn't need to be created, but it requires for you to tap within that identity, that frequency, so that then reality simply adapts and it comes to you. I have one coach that she does manifestation, and she was making 60K per year, and she jumped from 60K to 3 million.
How fast?
In a year. Yeah.
Wow.
In a year. Because she did this. There is many different ways of manifesting. But this process, once you understand this, makes your manifestation more on demand. I have been writing every single day. I get paid to exist. And it's been the second time in my reality that out of the blue, I get paid to exist. Yesterday, I went into my mail and the bank has paid me money. because they fucked up something. Now, isn't that proof? The ego will say, but they made a mistake. That's why they're giving it to you. There is no quantum here. That's the ego. Once you understand that I am creating this reality, the funny thing is that last time I got paid from a job that they say, we need to send you some money that we haven't paid you. And I was like, okay, random, right? It was a little quantity. I said, God, can you make sure that next time that quantity is actually, like make it bigger. Yesterday was bigger.
But what would you say in the situation? Let's say, you have like 1, 2 months maybe worth of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So normal people will feel like fear, like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And then you say, okay, just try to imagine or feel the feeling that money is already in your bank account, But I don't know, it just overlaps with that fear, Sometimes like it's still there, the fear. You try to.
The thing is that there is no, think about like emotions, there is no escape from the emotions. Your emotions, they need to be felt. But the idea is like, if my thoughts are provoking my emotions, right? If then your emotions, what happens with your emotions? They release chemicals, and that's what Joe Dispenza says. Chemicals are released into your body, then your body becomes addicted. So then it's not your mind, it's not your emotions. But because your body was in the same state for years, it wants the same hormones. So then it basically, your body now is blocking you from creating a new reality. Because there is, obviously, if I don't have money, right, and if I see that my bank account is just lowering, even though if I want to create a new reality, I need to find a way of like, how do I make sure that your first sense of like, what is it called? Safety is covered. So I have had clients that they said like, I don't want to be working back full time. And I said, yeah, but found another way to just cover the basic. Because for your mind, it's going to be just much more at ease, knowing that you have some sort of income coming in. But then there is also other people that they go all in and they change the reality. So there is like, it's just like learning to understand how do I work, and then to make it even more clear.
But I think for us, even being here in Bali, with our background, and even having here this kind of feeling of abundance, because like with our money, for example, I come from Germany, so like the money what I'm making there doesn't have the word which it has here. So here I feel so much more in abundance than in my own country, right? So just by changing the environment, I guess we already are in another frequency, because like we don't have this pressure of like getting even more, because here with this money we already can create a kind of good reality for us. So I think we are already in this frequency where we can jump to the next level.
It's cool to see that, and it's nice that you say that, because, for example, that is like an indicator of reality giving you feedback. Like, actually, you're here, you see that you have more money than you probably can get by in Germany. But I think like the actual superpower, and what I'm interested in, is actually changing your mindset, even if reality doesn't give you the feedback that you want. Right?
Yeah, I will. That's another part. I will explain, because this will make much more sense. But basically, whatever reality you're experiencing right now, it's not the ideal, right? You might have or you might not have. You might have savings or you might not. It doesn't matter, right? The logical brain, right, like your rational mind and your ego, they're gonna say, if I want to go from here to $1 million, what I used to do in the past, right? I was a business coach and I was helping other coaches to scale their business. So when I was doing that, my course, right, 6 months was 6,000. So for me to be able to get into 1 million, right, I thought I basically divided 1 million to 6,000, and it was, if you can divide it, we can do this easier.
Maybe around 40.
So 1 million divided
By 6,000.
Okay.
$116, I think.
Yeah, 166.
Yeah? So good with maths.
166.
Clients. Right? So then I was like, fuck, I have a number. So then I did, okay, 166 divided by 12. Why 12? Huh?
So you know how many clients you need to have.
Yeah. So that gave me, how much is this?
But it's 166, not 6.
Yeah.
You put 16.
So 13.
13,
So
right?
it's 100, you have 116 and it needs to be 166.
Ah. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, 13 clients.
This is per month. Now, because I was trained in a Hormozy school, what I did here was like, good, I have the number, then I need to find out how many people do I need to be sending a message per day. That is fucking insane. Because for you to be able to get into 13 clients, then there is a whole mathematical formula, and I literally had an Excel spreadsheet with the amount of people that I would be messaging, sending just messages, right? Which was around, it was more than 500 a day. Yeah. So then, apart from that, I had to make sure that I had to be booking calls every week, right? Now, if I booked 20 calls per week, it didn't mean that those 20 were going to sell, because there is a closing rate, right? So if my closing rate was 50%, even though if I had 20 calls, then it means that probably I will be closing only 10. Now, if I go even more logical, then I will think, okay, if I close 10, then how much cash collected do I want? Right? So that was the fucking logical way. Because I am thinking like, how do I make my business like a retreat, right? How do I run retreats so that in a year I can make $1 million? That is the logical way of the brain thinking. Because the logic, the control, right, like the control freak, the ego says, we need to make sure that we are doing this properly, because otherwise there is no point on doing it.
It seems like a good thinking, right? Like, you had a good mindset.
Seems like. But what happens here is you literally block. God can be planning, right? Like God can be saying, what is going to happen is, your business is going to go into the shit. So you lose your business, which then gets you into a new idea and a new frequency, which then gets you to launch something that you didn't expect it before that you were going to be doing. So all these new opportunities, right? Like think about like the new ideas, the new beliefs, all this new identity, right? For that identity to be able to exist within here, that identity thinks very differently from the one that is here. But what happens is like you're trying to create this reality carrying the same old identity. This identity was trying to get $1 million, forcing reality to make it happen. And the reality for me was that I was burnout. I was hoping, the other day I actually told my friend, I was like, what the fuck were you thinking when we were asking the universe that we wished that the week was longer so that we can be working more hours? And that was my purpose. Like, it's stupid if you think about it. Like, God say, you're going to have a mission and you're going to have a purpose and you're going to be serving hundreds and thousands of people, but your life is going to be horrible. God is not saying that. Right? Once we bring this into the equation, then all the logical, it's literally gone.
So how do you find the balance in it then? Like, because like when we're setting a number,
Yeah.
right? And we set for us we want this 1 million, and then we make the months, and we're like, okay, we need those 13 clients per month, but then you don't want to burn out. So how do you find the balance?
See. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't take action, right? But remember the first lesson when I was saying we need to become the channel? Right. So by you allowing yourself to be the channel, it means that the creative ideas, the creative spark is going to start coming in, right? Like if I, for example, if I just go with conjunction, and if I understand that I need to blend my masculine and my feminine, if I start working with the feminine and my intuition starts tapping in, because I have moved identities. I am not this one and I am here. Even though my reality hasn't materialized yet $1 million, I am already here. Then you don't think, to give you an example, right? I was creating content, and one day I kept on praying God, and I kept on saying, what does my people needs to hear today? And God said, the tone of the message was like, really? That small? And I was like, what do you mean that small? Now, in my head, right, I was literally thinking the numbers of people that I had in my social media, and I was thinking that I wanted to create a message for them, right? Now, what God said, He said, what will happen if you start asking, what is the message that hundreds and thousands of people need to hear today? That is a completely different consciousness. Can you see the difference? So like when we move to this identity, that identity is going to start giving you the ideas. And then because you have done this process, right, you're not going to be slipping back into the old. But it's actually about like, how do I build? For example, this week I realized, and I was like, holy shit. Like I was just today I was writing in my journal and I was trying to remember who I was 1 year ago. And I couldn't remember. And I was like, this is fucking nuts. Because it means that I have literally split, like that reality that I was experiencing, it's not connected at all to the reality that I am living on. Because remember that I said that we can quantum, that there is infinite timelines. They are literally not connected. The reason why the lady, she made 3 million in less than a year was because she was able to jump into the new one. And the new one doesn't have anything to do with the old one. But because we get attached, right? Like your mind says, I got this idea and this is what I wanted. Imagine if I actually listened to my ego, and when I saw that my life was a fucking mess, I said, no, but this is what I wanted. This is what I was meant for. But rather I had to say, I am willing to let go of absolutely everything so that the new one can be born.
I have a bit of an interesting thing here because you said like your life, you felt like it was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I'm just thinking because it depends also on the intention. Like I don't know, like that was true for you, but like it could be different for other people.
Yeah. Like everybody has their own. Think about like you have your own truth. But what you need to do first in this process is you need to be willing to say, I am 100% responsible of whatever I have created. That's the first step. Once you become fully responsible and you own that shit, then it's like, okay, how do I take myself into the reality that I want to create? Because we're going to do here, I have like a future self-activation and we're going to do it so that you can experience it, right? But what happens there is like I basically take you to the timeline when you are living and experiencing the life that you have been dreaming of. The millions are there, the friendships, the relationships, everything is there. And when I bring you back into this time, you are like, holy shit, that person is completely different. Like it's someone that I don't recognize. So how in the world, if that version of me that has the $1 million is here and it acts different and behaves different, how in the world I expect that that version of me gets here? Right? Something that I wouldn't have done before was like going to talk like we did in the event. It would have never happened. In my old self, that potential of being like, I want something, I go and get it, wouldn't have been a possibility. But once you start tapping into like this identity, you will see that you start acting in ways that you didn't do it before.
You mean like to open up that thing, or what are you meaning? Or
Just to take an action, like you know, like what we did, right? Like we knew that she was there and we wanted to talk to her, right? I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have go for it. Like one day, for example, I was in Terra. So they had this event, the launching event where they recruit people, right? I don't know what the fuck was going on with myself that the moment that one of the guys said, he was asking like, who wants to give an example, right? My hand literally went like this. And I was like, what the fuck? And then he picked me. And then when I started speaking, I couldn't recognize what was coming out of my mouth. Like at the end, my friend, like my business partner was there, right? And she was like, I didn't know that we were looking for a business investor. And I was like, well, I didn't know either. That was me.
That was you. Oh my gosh.
And I was like, what? And I was like, holy shit, like how is this logically? It can happen. That night opened to me so many fucking doors.
This was when he asked you to get more specific
Yeah.
each time.
Because of that, I started volunteering with him. And because of my volunteering in Chatty, then I have been connecting with like so many other people. And now my life is just like completely changed.
Did Jill, this guy?
Gil, yeah.
No, I just connected dots.
That is quantum.
But like sometimes you have this kind of paralyzing fear when you're about to take action. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like
How do you work with it?
Yeah.
Today we're going to learn. It's basically we just need to take the process through. Like instead of escaping from the feelings, it's literally stepping fully in. Because that's what happens with most of the people. We escape. You know, like, oh, it's uncomfortable. I'm going to go and I'm going to start talking to people. I'm going to go out and I will go to party.
The only way to the other side is actually through it. Yeah.
I know, man. It's like so.
And
so
it is,
paralyzing sometimes.
but there comes the lesson 1 of the last week. When you bring prayer into the equation, and then there is that paralyzing fear, and you start working with the Creator. Remember that I told you the vessel starts expanding? Then your vessel starts expanding, and everything in your life starts shifting. Because this one, the secret for him, right, is that he literally expanded the vessel. Right? Like, remember the example that I gave you about like the bucket? A small bucket full of holes. He expanded the vessel. That is the difference.
That's why they say if you want to become like the person that has $1 million, you need to think like them, walk like them,
Yeah.
talk like them.
Because
And
it's
if you
different.
If you just start pretend. And another thing that I heard recently is we pretend to be asleep in order for us to fall asleep. So we close our eyes and we pretend we are already asleep and then we fall asleep. So if we start doing that, so if we start pretending that we are already the person that has the $1 million, eventually we're going to be the person that has the $1 million.
Yeah. Because eventually reality will collapse. Because what happens? If you are acting like the person that has $1 million, you start having $1 million ideas. If I act as the person that doesn't have money, I keep on having ideas of like not having money. I create content now based on the hundreds and millions of people that is watching my content. Because if I kept on creating content from I am just trying to grow my account because I am here and I want to be there, guess what happens? I'm gonna be still stuck with little ideas. So that's how reality collapses. Because then you get a sense of like, there is a different way of actually making money.
I have another question. I've seen these people, like, man, they're like so hungry for manifestation. Like, they see something and then they go for it.
Yeah.
And then they pursue, like, whatever it is, they just get it. And I just want that mindset. I mean, I'm not going to say I want it because I would have it if I really wanted it. But, like, I don't know, I'm just fantasizing about, how it would be to kind of have that mindset,
Yeah.
Like, just like whatever you see, like, just like go, whatever you want, just go for it, like 100%.
Full in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think that's like a big part of manifestation as well?
Yeah. Because the one that goes for everything is this one. So they are like two different people. Completely different. But what we're going to be doing here to make it practical, because again, knowledge is beautiful. And you can finish here and you can be enlightened. But if you don't apply it, it's not going to happen. What we're going to do to make an experiment, and it can be really cool. But I literally just got this download. Next class, I'm going to be bringing you one of the processes that Setland uses to create a new reality. So far of everything that I have been applying, this one makes a lot of sense because it's super easy to make, and I will literally print it, and all that you have to do is I will give it to you and you can print it and put it somewhere where you remember. Because he says that for you to be able to like do all these changes, right? Like, remember that I told you like we are characters in a movie, right? So he says you need to be able to wake up. Have you heard about lucid dreaming? Yeah? Now, lucid dreaming means you wake up in the dream. Have you had lucid dreaming? It's fucking cool, right?
I read a book and I was only able to do it once.
Yeah, so it's really, really cool. But what he says the difference between being asleep and being awake is the exact same thing. But what happens is like when you're sleeping and if you're in lucid dreaming, if you become aware of it, you get to create whatever you want and it's manifested. And once I was in a lucid dreaming, I became aware of it and I said, I want to fly, I was flying. In this reality, it doesn't happen. But it doesn't happen because we are not aware that we are playing a game, right? So there is another concept that we can understand since we're talking about the mind. There is two things to manifest, two elements, right? One is in your head. So is the thoughts. I don't know if you write it like that. And then the other one is the mirror of, this is a mirror. The other one is the mirror of reality, what you are seeing. We need to become aware of the two of them. Because if you're aware of the thoughts, but you're not aware of the mirror, of the reality that you're perceiving, then, for example, in this process, he says, in the morning, you can do your journaling, right? I don't know if you have ever written what you want to create, right? So he says that is just 10% of the process. Most of the people, they are used to write their feelings, to write what they wish to create. And it has been proven that it actually happens, and that's why a lot of people, they do it. But the key here is then, because you have reality, the external reality, at nighttime, you should be writing another list. And this list will have the confirmations of the thoughts that you were creating. So at nighttime, for example, I will say, today I was able to perceive that I was speaking differently. Today I was able to perceive that I had more confidence. Today, the confirmation that I am getting paid to exist was that I got deposited random money from the bank. And when we do that process of like not only creating in the morning, right? But at nighttime, once you start bringing it back to reality, then you start telling your mind, it is happening. Because what happens is like your ego is a fucking bitch. And it's gonna keep every single level that you go, it's gonna hunt you. But it's like, how do we remove the whole baggage off? Because each one of you have a bully in your mind. I know how much we hate bullies. But each one of you carry one bully in your mind. And you have chosen it, which is the saddest part. When I heard that, I was like, fuck.
Again, so it's to kind of break the cycle, we need to journal twice a day, like in the morning and in the evening, to confirm
Yeah.
what we...
I don't have access to my phone. I will send you I have a list. I will give you.
It is funny because like I'm literally doing that.
Yeah.
And I started like 2 weeks ago. So in the morning I write in the present tense all the things that I want to manifest, like they already happened. And then at night I write 10 things that during the day, little signs that are the proof that what I'm trying to manifest or I represent. So as you say, like right now, this is going to be one of the examples. The fact that you spoke about it.
Yeah.
Is going to be on the list of one of the
things.
that what I'm doing, I'm on the right path.
Because there is the process of the mind, but then there is the process of the actions, right? We are building the channel. This information is going to help you to build the channel, right? First, we build the channel. After I have built the channel, I have cleared the pipes, then I start expanding my vessel. Which means, if I have an idea, then I know how to action it. Then I know how to act. Then I know how to move. Because it does, like, it's crazy how it happens. Last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, I had a very, like, it was very clear of like, do this post and you're gonna talk about this and you're gonna put this. And I was like, okay, I haven't used Facebook in a while. I'm talking about like months of not using Facebook. However, the download was do it on Facebook. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it and I can show you later. That post reached 130,000 people. Random. But it's because it's this. You know, like think about like, these concepts are gonna allow you to perceive your reality from a different lens. Where you stop being the character that is just simply being... I want you to imagine that you're playing a video game and you're like telling the character where to go. That is reality with each one of us right now. Reality is dictating, the mirror, the external mirror, is dictating how everything should go, how you move, how you interact, But the moment that you would say, hey, actually, wait a minute, I am in control. It's kind of like you detach from that connection. And then you say, okay, now I am the main character. So these things allow you to become the main character. Because next time that you have fear that is stopping you, then you have the awareness and you will know how to transmute the fear into, because what happens is all the negative feelings, they are connected to a positive one. And remember that I told you the law of polarity last week. Hermeticism has 7 laws. One of the laws is the law of polarity, which says this is happiness and this is sadness. So this law says if you are here, you are meant to go here. And if you are not aware of this, you're going to keep on being in the loop. Oh, one day I am feeling amazing, and then the next day I feel like shit. And then life keeps on playing with you. But once you become aware, you break the cycle. Questions?
Can you explain that in more detail? What do you mean by break the cycle?
The video game. Picture the video game. You are playing a video game and you're telling the character where to go, how to move, what to do, right? Now, what will happen if the character suddenly says, wait, bitch, I can control myself? You're gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? When we become aware of these laws, we are literally doing that. Then reality, the script, right? Someone designed the script. Then the script cannot force you to do what the script wants because you are chosen differently. Because here, if I am aware, right, of the law of polarity, if I know that the law of polarity says, if you are feeling extremely happy, the pendulum, I need to drag you because it's the natural process. I need to drag you into sadness. If I become aware of this law, then instead of feeling extremely happy, like the other day I was going up these stairs feeling like so happy, and I was like, wait a minute, because I know where it's gonna drive me. And I said, I literally just stopped and I was like, come back, neutralize it, like this is normal, whatever you're experiencing is completely normal. It's my new normal. I literally even had the feeling, like, when you're extremely happy and you have like this feeling that your chest is expanding. I literally bring it down so that it was neutral. And then I continue my day. And then another day I was feeling the same. I started feeling like really sad for no reason, driving a motorbike. And then I said like, okay, let's bring it back to neutrality. Yes, I am feeling the feeling, but I can bring myself. Instead of escaping, I feel it. By feeling it, it's kind of like it loses the power of driving you. So if I am living in neutrality, right, like for example, yesterday, I got paid for the bank. Oh my God, it is such a big thing. Where do you think I am moving? Up. Therefore, reality is gonna say like, now I need to bring you back down. So then suddenly I get a bill and probably it's the same quantity. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? You just gave it to me and now you take it away. But it's just the law. So instead of me getting hyper and excited, I said like, oh yeah, it's just the new normal.
Or maybe you can even call this space peace. Because
Yeah.
I learned that we shouldn't pursue, either happiness or something like what desire or something that we should like, the thing we should focus on is like peace. And I think this is what you try to explain.
Presence. Here you are simply present.
Think that children don't, kids like toddlers, they don't know the concept of happiness.
No.
And they're always like in that state. But they don't say like, yeah, I'm happy. Like that's how I am. It's normal.
It's just a normal. So as long as you're present, as long as you realize that you have the capacity to stop being dragged, and you're like, wait a minute. Like this afternoon, I was walking down and I saw like the owner of the house talking to Yasin. And I could feel from upstairs the energy. And I said, I'm not being dragged into that reality. I am in a hyper state. I am like super of awareness here. My awareness is here now. So now I choose what do I want to be interacting with. If I see that there is a conversation of lack happening right in front of me, do I want to be part of that? No.
I'm a little bit in conflict with the idea of if you are extremely happy, you need to bring yourself down. Like that's something that is not, I'm not feeling it. And taking the example that I said about the children, I do believe children are the more pure thing because they haven't been manipulated by society. So they have like control to, they know how to do the right way to live.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been all these limited beliefs by parents, by society. Yeah, they haven't been conditioned. So we should look at them and see how we are supposed to live, because they have, that's why they do whatever they want to do, because they don't care about anyone else. So taking the example about the happiness, they are constantly happy, like exploring life, just discovering new things. I don't think a kid is thinking, oh, I need to bring myself down, otherwise something bad is going to happen.
You just mentioned something like key, because that's a question that I had one day. Do you think a kid is being authentic? They're being themselves,
I do believe so, yeah.
right? They're acting like they don't have a filter.
Yeah,
They don't have the judgment from society.
exactly.
They simply are. So once you bring yourself back into authenticity, to that childlike way of exploring, of like being curious about life, then from that, you can actually get to create all that. Your authenticity holds a power in a way. Now, what I am saying, when you bring yourself back down to neutrality, it doesn't mean that you don't have to feel the feeling. But literally, the law of polarity, the law of duality, right? It says, as there is good, there is bad. So if we are being played by these rules, when I say you just bring yourself down, it's like I'm not allowing myself to feel happy. You allow yourself to feel happy, but then that happiness is not dictating. Like, let's say, for example, yesterday I got the money. That gave me happiness. Then I am making that the result of the money equals the happiness that I had. Right? Therefore, if I completely disconnect it and I just bring it, it's being neutral doesn't mean that I'm not having feelings. Being neutral means I am in a state of like presence where I know my highs and I know my lows, but I know that I can always be working from here.
Another thing that came to me when you just said that, and it's very interesting, is like when I say that I'm happy or I'm sad, I somehow try to make a reason for why I'm happy. Like, for example, I'm going in the right direction, right? Everything's going well. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then you're just creating a concept in a way. But
The result of.
So in this case, because you are happy, but you are associating your happiness to the money that just came in.
That's the result of, right?
But for me, like, you can still stay in the happiness states as long as you then start disconnecting from, oh, I'm only on this state because of this. You know? But
Yeah.
Because you're basically saying, oh, I'm happy because the money came in. So as soon as the money goes out, like my happiness go down again because I don't have the result. But if you stay on that state of happiness, and then maybe you start looking, because you are in that state, so maybe you start looking at your life, and then you start seeing other things that also give you happiness. So then you start realizing other stuff, and then it's just not the money. So then your happiness is also because someone let you go in a line, or you found a coin on the floor, or like your favorite ice cream was on sale. So you start seeing other things, so that you're still on the happy state. You know, I'm just like.
But don't you depend then on happiness? You depend on the concept.
But it's not just associated to the money coming in. Like, now anything for you is a reason for you to be happy.
And what if you only have reasons to be unhappy?
But the happiness is like, this is not this is not something like you can experience for a long time. And like, I just can tell you what I learned recently, and it helped me to understand that we shouldn't judge. Like, to be happy is not good, to be sad is not bad. Like, you shouldn't judge. It just is like, this is the facets of life. And like, I think what they try to say here is like that you shouldn't attach to this feeling, you know? The example he said is like that it was because the money came in, but it's about staying detached and being like, okay, that's just a sensation, but that's just a moment. Because like, there's never a time like you feel happiness because of something, but you don't stay happy then for the next 4 days, right? You have those glimpses of happiness, but the same way it is with every sensation, and this is what helped me at least.
It's basically, it means that because we are aware of the game, like we know that we are, think about like I am experiencing a movie and now I have become aware that I am an actor in the movie, right? That's all that you need, because then happiness or sadness are detached from you. They don't dictate you. You actually dictate them, and it's like, oh yeah, like I know that I am feeling, it's just there, in the same way that I can experience happiness, or in the same way that I can experience sadness. So this, your feelings don't dictate you anymore. But here, what I am connecting it back to this law. This law is what it does that. Because this same law one day can say, you make a sale and you make 10K, right? And I go extremely well, and I was feeling amazing, and you made it so out of like the equation, right? That the same law says like, so now I need to bring you back to reality. And then suddenly you get a bill, and then you have to pay, and then this is gone. Because you weren't aware of like this law in specific. So yes, you can feel happy, but you don't, it's like nothing is the result of. Once you become present and once you become you, it's like things can happen, but again, they're not, like we get so attached to reality. We give it so much meaning that sometimes we forget. Like one of the phrases that I literally have written in my bathroom, because that's where I go first time in the morning. It says, reality is nothing but an illusion. Because nothing of what I see right now is real. For me, I am not talking to 5 people. I'm talking to 5,000.
You're talking to 4.
Justin was here. But that's the way, right? Like that's how I see it.
Happiness can be like an addiction as well as sadness, I think.
Yeah, like feelings are feelings. That can be another talk for another day. But here, coming back, because I went to another rule, I went to Hermetism. Coming back to here, the idea is that we're not what's the time?
It's 6:30 or
7:36.
Okay, well, I have 10 minutes because I have to jump into another one. But the last thing about like what we're gonna do, yeah. Do you all meditate? Yeah. Okay. So what I can do is I will share a link, and you will all do. It's like a 7-day course. It's for free, and it's on Insight Timer, but it brings you back to the very basics of meditation. So it doesn't matter how many years you have meditated. You're just gonna do this to understand what does your brain feels more at ease, and in the process, it's teaching you like different ways of being present. But what I want you to do, right, like, because we were gonna be doing it together, but I don't have enough time, is remember that I said like we're gonna be entering the inner laboratory. So the inner laboratory, basically it says that it's we allow ourselves to consciously become aware of what is going on. We're not allowing life to simply pull us through the different things, like the day you might be end up doing 100 different things in one day, and life is just like pulling you. But the moment that we decide to go full into like understanding that if I am the one creating everything around me, first I need to become aware of what is inside of me, right? So the process of the inner laboratory, it says that the first thing that we need to do, that we have all done it here because we all meditate, is quieting the mind, right? But to make your mind quiet, we don't do it. You can do it early in the morning, which is good, before the praying. You don't do it laying down. And the first part is to calm down the body. right? So like when you meditate and you focus on your breathing, you will start creating that relaxation. So we relax the body and then we relax the mind. And then there is another part that says, if you stay in that stillness, eventually, right, like we have to do this process, try to do it without a timer. But basically, eventually what happens is like you reach the level of the soul. So once the soul is still, you start getting insights. And you start getting what it's called the downloads, right? So that is the first part when we are going to be doing alchemy. It's like understanding that we have that capacity. The capacity to, give yourself 10 minutes in the day to simply come back into the practices. And by becoming aware that there is something far beyond just you, right, which is your soul, that is the first step that we all are going to do it. The other option is, forget about the app. I will send you an audio. Yeah. So the audio will only drag you until the relaxation of the body. After that, all that you need to do is you just stay still for a few minutes. So this process, again, for a week, just do it. And just take notes of whatever you experience. If you get a download, write it. Right? If you get whatever you need, just bring it. Because what we're going to do, and what I want you to do is, you need to think for the next one, I want you to think about one thing that you have been struggling that you would like to let go of. So it can be the fear, it can be whatever that is stopping you, that you know that you have been there and you're like, fuck, leave me alone, right? I'm done with you. So I want you to bring that. If you feel comfortable, you're going to share it. If not, you keep it with yourself. But what we're going to be doing is, in the next weeks, we're going to be taking that thought into this process. So next week, we start with a meditation and activation. And in that activation, I'm going to make you do the calcination process of that which we are going to be transforming. And in that way, what we are learning, it's going to be practical. Yeah? And you're going to be able to perceive. The idea is that you're not going to be doing alchemy forever in your life. But once you know this, it's very easy to understand when situations start happening in your life, to not fall into it, but rather become aware and be like, okay, so what do I do here? How do I want to move? Questions?
So you're gonna send the link on the
In the group. I will add you. I haven't added you, but I will add you. That's it for today.
Thank you.
Good job.
The workshop that you put on the group, I never received any email.
Oh, really? Did you check your spam?
Yeah.
You didn't receive? Okay, weird. I will give you access to a school.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I did was I just, because that has been happening, I think that I'm going to be sending people just the link once they have logged in, and then you get access to school and you can do the workshop.
Okay, so should I go again to the link and to my email again?
No, let me, I will send it in WhatsApp, and you can get into the school, and then in the school you find the courses. So, it's easier in school as well, because all the YouTube videos that I'm doing, like all the podcasts, I'm putting it there. So it's just one platform and you have all the information. So that's gonna be good, because I talk a little bit more about like this. But all these different laws, all these different elements that we are learning, it might be a little bit overwhelming. And sometimes it might be kind of like, how do I grasp it? Just sit with it and let reality show you what does it actually mean like. Because for me, the moment that you start studying this, the crazy thing that happens is like you become aware of reality. And before I wasn't aware of like many things. I used to let the day drag me. So if positive happens thing during the day, I was positive. But then if everything was negative, then I was like negative. Whereas now I am like very detached, and it's like, it's like it's like, poop, bye. Like to my ego.
Like with the happiness and sadness thing, like
Mhm.
with the horses, you know.
Ah, yeah. What?
So basically, it's like a farmer that has a son and he has a horse, and one day the horse runs away, and then all the village come and say, "Oh, it's so sad. You had like only one horse, and the horse ran away." And the farmer said, "Oh, I don't know if this is good or if this is bad." And then the next day, the horse brings another 5 wild horse, and then everyone from the village comes and says, "It's amazing! Like you thought that you lost the horse, but in reality, you brought another 5 horses, so now you have 6 horses." And then the farmer's like, "I don't know if this is good or if this is bad." And then the next day, the kid, his son, is just training the horses, and then he falls, then he hurt his back, so he's staying bad. And then the village come and was like, "Oh, so sad, your son hurt himself." And then the farmer said, "I don't know if this is good or if this is bad." And then the next day, the troops come and they say, "We need to take all the young men that are healthy to war. We need to go to war." And because his son had break a leg, he couldn't. And then everyone comes once again, amazing. And he's like, "I don't know if this is good, if this is bad." So basically, that's detachment. If we don't,
Yes.
if we don't,
Yeah, that-
like give. If we don't put a meaning on what happens, we never know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thank you, brother.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Wait,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's nice meeting you all.